السلام عليكم ومرحبا بكم. هناك ظاهرة بدأت تنتشر في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. الظاهرة تتعلق بقطاع التعليم في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، وأن هناك أعداد كبيرة من المعلمين والأساتذة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية الذين بدأوا يغادرون هذه المهنة للانتقال إلى العمل في مهن أخرى. هذا الأمر الذي ربما سوف يفاجئ العديد من الناس في أنحاء العالم. كيف يعقل أن أستاذ أو معلم في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية يغادر هذا المنصب ليشتغل ربما في متاجر التجزئة أو يشتغل في قطاعات أخرى؟ لكن حينما سوف نسمع آراء الأساتذة أو آراء المعلمين سوف تفهمون أن هناك العديد من الأسباب التي دفعت هيئة التعليم أو التدريس هنا في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية إلى ترك هذه المهنة والبحث عن مهن أخرى. من بين الأمور التي يصادفها رجال التعليم في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية هو ديسيبلين أو المواظبة أو تربية الأطفال. هناك العديد من حالات الأطفال التي نشاهد في بعض دولنا العربية أو الإسلامية، أنه هناك تلاميذ يعتدون على الأساتذة، هناك تلاميذ يضربون الأساتذة، هناك تلاميذ يطعنون الأساتذة في أبواب المدرسة، هناك تلاميذ يحتقرون الأستاذ في قاعة الدرس. ربما في بعض الدول العربية يمكن للأستاذ الدفاع عن نفسه والضرب وربما الحصول على تعويض أو محاكمة التلميذ أو الطالب. لكن في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية هذا الأمر بعيد المنال. لا يمكن للأستاذ هنا في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية أو معلم في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية أن يقوم بضرب الطفل، لأن هذا الأمر ممنوع في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية تقريبا من تسعينيات القرن الماضي. هناك تغيير في المناهج الدراسية، هذا الأمر الذي يثقل كاهل المعلمين والأساتذة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. فهناك أساتذة، مع كامل الأسف هذه النظرة للعديد من الناس التي تقطن في خارج الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، يعتقدون أن الأستاذ في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية يشتغل فقط بان الدوام وبعد ذلك يذهب إلى المنزل أو يذهب إلى المقهى ويجلس في المقهى. هذه الأمور مختلفة هنا في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، لأن هناك تحضير، لأن هناك تصحيح، لأن هناك تدريب هناك دورات تدريبية لرجال التعليم أو الأساتذة وغيره من الأمور. فربما نجد أن بعض رجال التعليم يشتغلون أكثر من 40 ساعة بشكل أسبوعي. هذا الأمر يأخذنا إلى الراتب. العديد من الناس الذين يشتغلون في هيئة التعليم والتدريس في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية رواتبهم ضعيفة مقارنة مع بعض الناس الذين تشتغل في بعض القطاعات التي ربما لا تحتاج إلى شواهد ولا تحتاج إلى ماجستير أو إجازة في التربية أو في اللغة أو غيره من الأمور. ففي هذا الفيديو سوف أترككم مع رأي بعض الأشخاص الذين قرروا مغادرة هيئة التعليم وهيئة التدريس في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية لعدة أسباب. كما قلت، هناك أناس يتحدثون على أن التلميذ محمي في المدارس لكن الأستاذ غير محمي. هناك أساتذة الذين دفعوا سنوات من حياتهم في التدريس ل20 سنة أو 30 سنة ليضعوا فيديوهات يبينوا من خلالها ضعف مستويات الدراسة للعديد من الأطفال. بين سنة 2005 لسنة 2025 يلاحظ أن مستويات التعلم انخفضت بشكل كبير. وفي الأخير سوف أضع لكم فيديو لسيدة أستاذة غادرت صفوف التدريس لتلتحق بالعمل في بعض أسواق التجزئة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، والتي تقول يقول الفيديو أن دخلها ارتفع ب50% مقارنة مع ما كانت تحصل عليه حينما كانت تشتغل في هيئة التدريس في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. دعوا تعليقاتكم أسفل هذا الفيديو. هل توافقون على ما يقوم به هؤلاء الناس من ترك وظائفهم في هيئة التعليم والانتقال لوظائف أخرى، أم تعترضون على هذا القرار؟ شكرا لكم.
I did the literal math after taxes, how much I make hourly. I did the math, how much I make hourly as a substitute teacher after taxes. Are you ready? Each day, I make $8.70 per hour after taxes. $8. I make $1 over minimum wage.
So I'm physically leaving education and not coming back because I physically can't do it no more. I can't. I actually start sweating. My heart starts flooding really fast with the thought of me having to decorate a classroom next year or even having to step foot in a school next year. And mark my words when I say this. So get this timestamp and look at this video. When I leave, I am never, ever coming back. I can't do it. I physically cannot be a teacher anymore. And I'm okay with that because I gave this profession everything that I did and everything that I wanted to give. And I am not going to be forced out of it anymore. I'm not going to be forced out of any career anymore. Job longevity has always been something that I preach. And I can't work in a profession that doesn't value my existence as a human being. I get that every day ain't gonna be peaches and rainbows. It's me, I'm about to tear up. But it's like, I'm a human. And education feels demoralizing. It does. I don't know how we do this, y'all, but I gotta go or I'm gonna be going somewhere in grippy socks. And that's not happening. So I'm done with this. We can wrap this up.
I want you to send this video to anybody who can't understand why teachers are crashing out and quitting. I mean, they get their summers off, so like, what do they really have to complain about? I have brought visual aids. Here we go. So everything I show you on this green clipboard is going to represent when I started teaching in 2005, and everything on this red clipboard is 2025. I did not teach the full 20 years. I took 7 years off because I had children and my husband's in the military. We moved a lot. Here we go. These are actual seating charts that I found as I was cleaning out my desk today. So this represents the year 2005, and this is how many of my students are reading on grade level. Everything in blue. So I got 1.5 students out of like a group are struggling readers, but pretty much everybody's reading at least on level, some even higher, okay? 2025. How many of my students are reading on grade level? Okay, this next is an average of how many of my students failed my class. Like they are going to have to repeat this. There's no recovering. They failed. This is 2005. 0.5 student out of all of my students. This is this year. This is this year. On average, I teach about 100 students. On average, this is how many students in each class are not passing. They're going to have to take this class again. Okay, next, the orange represents in 2005, parent involvement. I always had parents either in my inbox asking about lessons, volunteering for field trips, or anything that we needed for our classroom, volunteering supplies. 2005, 2025. Where are the parents that are supposed to be involved in their school? Behavior issues. Students in 2005 that I had to like write up on referrals, call home, maybe have parent-teacher conferences for poor behavior. Out of a whole classroom, there was always like at least one bad apple, okay? 2025. Put your cell phone away. Why are you showing up to my class 15 minutes late? Don't talk to me like that. Don't call them the N-word. You know, if there's anything that being a teacher has taught me, it's analyzing data and trends. And I just don't like the current trends. So that is why you are seeing teachers leaving like in a mass exodus, just in droves, exiting the classroom this year. And everybody wants to blame COVID. That's a small part of it. Most of it has to do with parenting, screen time. You put a cell phone in the hands of a small child and just give them unfettered access to the internet. Do you think they care about what's going on in my class? Send this to anybody out there who's like, teachers are indoctrinating our kids. Ma'am, your kid has TikTok. They have Instagram, which has a much greater influence than my geography class. I hope this helps.
Now that I am no longer a teacher, thank God, I can finally say the things that have been on my mind all school year. Okay? As somebody that taught high school and basically educating our new young adults, we should all be scared. Every last one of us should be scared. These kids cannot read. They cannot write. There is no type of comprehension skills, no type of critical thinking. They cannot do anything on their own. They expect everything to be taught to them. Well, I won't even say taught. They expect everything to be given to them. So in my class, we did this thing where I made them write once a week. So they would have some type of assignment where they would have to write at least a paragraph, meaning 5 sentences. 5 sentences. The amount of assignments that I got in with 1 sentence, 2 sentences, the amount of complaints I got with the whole 5 sentences, that's too much, that's too much. Can we do 3? Can we do 3? Isn't 3 considered a paragraph? Oh, baby. We are in for a wild ride, y'all. Every assignment that I gave them, I kid y'all not, every assignment that I gave them, there was a student that came to, several students that came to my desk and asked me to walk them through the entire assignment, the whole thing. But genuinely, the truth of the matter is everybody is failing these kids. Everybody. The school board with all these different rules, they're failing these kids. The principals or admin altogether, they're failing these kids, and they're failing the teachers because they're basically telling us that we had to just pass a child along just to keep these graduation numbers up. So everybody. Oh, and don't get me started on the parents. Like, I would call and say, hey, your child is failing. And the first thing is, well, why didn't I know about this? Probably because you didn't answer the phone. Probably because you didn't respond to my emails. On top of that, you have 24-hour access to Power School. When I tell y'all it is horrible, like, the parents that are here now are not the parents that we had growing up. My parents checked my Power School weekly. And still to this day, my brother just graduated high school a few weeks ago, and still to this day, his grades were checked. Everybody's grades were checked. So, unfortunately, it's not these kids' faults. I mean, yeah, they're lazy, but like, what are you supposed to do when all you got to do is tell your mama, well, she failing me, and the school board is going to accommodate that parent? Like, it's crazy, y'all. We should be very scared for our new nurses, our new doctors, our new everybody. These colleges are going to have to start lowering their requirements. They're going to have to start lowering just lowering everything, because the way that stuff is going now, the amount of kids that are going to come into these schools and they cannot read, they cannot write, they cannot do anything without AI. We should be scared. We should really be scared. Have a great day.
Do you honestly believe that these teachers are quitting their job 2 weeks into the school year because they're not getting paid enough, or because the politics that they're dealing with from outside of the classroom is too much to handle? No, that's not the reason. The reason why they're quitting is because these kids are mean, and they're making the classroom a war zone, and they're getting zero support from parents at home and from admin on their campus. This 100% stems from the stuff that they have to deal with day in and day out from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. inside their classroom. It's the stuff that you have to deal with inside your classroom that makes you burn out and makes you never want to come back. I understand that so many of our kids are dealing with rough lives at home and are dealing with trauma, dealing with mental illness, dealing with learning disabilities. All of those things make it difficult to thrive in school, and I understand that. But the problem is that all of those things are no reason to treat other human beings like a piece of garbage. Regardless of your opinion of teachers, most teachers that I know wake up every single day excited to teach whatever lesson that they've spent hours planning and creating, and they want to have a meaningful experience with the students in their classroom. They want to have a good day. And I know, speaking for myself, I woke up every day praying that it was going to be a good day, praying that the kids that I had that day were going to be as excited about the content that I was ready to present as much as I was. And most days, that is not what I got met with. On the daily, teachers are getting cussed out, spit on, hit, flipped off. Their equipment is getting broken and stolen. There are bullies in class that are relentless, not just to their own fellow students, but to the adult in the room. Imagine if you had to deal with that at your job. I'm speaking to non-teachers right now, right? You would not put up with that. You would stay somewhere where you were treated with respect and you knew that you were safe in your work environment. If someone came every single day to your job, bullied you, hit you, cussed you out, rolled their eyes at you, treated you like you were nothing, like you were garbage, you wouldn't want to come back either. You would put in your 2 weeks notice. But for some reason, so many people believe that we signed up for that. Because that's a part of teaching, and that's just how kids are. I made the decision not to return to the classroom this year, and I haven't been in a classroom for months now, and I still have nightmares, trauma nightmares on a weekly basis about my former classroom and my former students. And yes, it is a parent and an admin problem just as much as it is a kid problem, because the difference between now and 20 years ago even is that 20 years ago, when you would have a kid cuss you out, hit you, smack other kids, ruin your property, steal things off of your desk, there was going to be somebody on campus that was going to back you up and find a solution. But now that's not the case. Suspensions are down because they want those numbers down. They want to look good. They're not suspending kids for getting in fights and being violent in the classroom anymore. It's just not happening. Even in the early 2000s and 2010s, when I started my career, I was assured that if I called a parent to tell them about what was going on in my classroom with their child, they were most definitely going to say, "I am so sorry, do what you need to do, I'll talk to them when they get home," right? That doesn't happen anymore either. It is a parent problem because we're getting met with the same attitudes that we see in the classroom that we're seeing at home from parents. Your doctor or a nurse, somebody comes up to your nurse's station and starts yelling and screaming, throwing things, cussing you out, calling you names. What do? You get to call security and call a code violet. As teachers, we can't do that anymore. We try, but then the kid gets sent out of the class, they are given a snack, and then 5 minutes later, they're back in the classroom ready to terrorize somebody else. There's always going to be only one adult in the room and 30 kids, and as soon as we put our attention on the one kid who's causing the disturbance and the violence in the class, then everyone is going to turn to us and say, well, why aren't you looking after the other kids? Why aren't you doing your job in teaching these kids? What happens when somebody else starts doing something they're not supposed to do? It's a lose-lose situation. So who wants to deal with that at work? Of course, these young teachers who are just now stepping into the profession are done with it after 2 or 3 weeks. They realize that they don't have to deal with that behavior. They don't have to deal with that disrespect. And there's another way that they can make their money. Let me just speak about Houston ISD for a second, because that's where I came from and that's what I advocate for, because I still care very deeply about that school district. Teachers at Houston ISD are not quitting their jobs right now because of the crap they're having to deal with from their superintendent and the fact that libraries are being stripped away from campuses that desperately need them. Again, I would say that most of the teachers that are dealing with those issues are strongly urged from within to stay in those positions, to advocate for change in that situation. Those are not the reasons that they're quitting. It's the kids and the behavior that they are dealing with, because they are not scared of consequences anymore. In fact, if something happens in the classroom, a group of kids is more likely to pull out their phone and start recording it and laughing instead of helping the situation. I know the last thing most people want to hear is a teacher saying that kids are the problem, but what else are we supposed to do? How else are we supposed to tackle this situation? Behavior issues are at an all-time high right now, and nobody wants to admit it, because then that's saying that, oh, those poor little darlings, you know, they're suffering out there in a world that's chaos. What are they supposed to do? You know, you're supposed to love them through it. We are asked to deal with so much abuse on a daily basis, and because they are children, somehow it's okay. And for those of you that don't have to deal with the behaviors that I'm talking about, you are lucky, because that means that you have admin on your campus that not only support you, but also have systems in place to tackle this sort of stuff.